Okay, next we're going to be focusing on adding a location, editing a location, and using the property panel in relation to this. So let's start with a fresh scenario. So I'm going to say new scenario, and I don't want to save what I've done before, so I'm going to say no. And there you have it, we have a blank canvas. Okay, so as mentioned briefly before, to add a location to this location window, it's simply to use this add tool. So you click on that, you'll see that the add tool actually changes to the little spanner with a plus, and we click in the location window. And there we have our default icon and our default label, which is called new location. Now, the importance of the property panel. This is where it controls all the information about what you're adding to your scenarios. So in this case, let's call this icon Introduction, because you'll often start a scenario by explaining to the user what they're going to be doing and what the learning objectives of your scenario is going to be. On the property panel, let's just go through this. There is an option to use a location map as a portal. I will go through that a little bit later, and when you do want to use that, it means going to another location map, and then you would check this box here, but we don't want to do that just yet, so I'm going to leave that off. Next, we want to give it an icon. So if you have already created a customized icon, you might want to go to the file system and actually select your image. I'm going to go to my media library, where I know I have put in icons previously with regard to introductions. So I put intro and say go, and there you go. I've got a little icon there that says intro. So I'm going to import that, and as you can see over here, the icon actually changes. Next, we need to select a environment background, and this could be something like just a title page. If your scenario is about something specific, you may have customized an image for it. So in this instance, I do have one sitting in my media library. It was for a theme park scenario, so I'm going to import that one. And as you can see, once you actually start adding images, you get a much more customized look, which always enhances the usability of a scenario. Okay, so we've added an intro icon and environment background. A prerequisite can be added. We'll do more about that later. Yeah, I'll explain more about that later. You can give feedback based on whether they visit it. So an introduction, probably not so much, it requires feedback, but if they chose to do a particular test, let's say, or collect a particular item, you might want to give them feedback on why it was a good decision to collect that item or why it may have been a bad decision to collect that item. And again, you might want to give them feedback if they have visited a location or if they haven't visited a location. This one down here I think is really important and people often forget about it. SBLi is essentially HTML pages. So when you're creating all your content and you put content into this page here, it's actually in HTML format. I'll just open up our external editor and let you see what a page looks like. So as you can see, it's got a header tag, a p tag, etc. So that's essentially what it is. So to make it more usable, you should really customize these content pages by clicking on the R for rename and then giving it a name. So this one, of course, a logical name, intro. So if you rename to a logical name such as intro, later on it's going to be easy to perhaps move those pages around, reassign them to a different place. It gives you far more flexibility with regard to redesigning your scenario, and I'll give you an example showing you what I mean about that a little later on. Okay, so next we've done everything with regard to the location and the properties panel for a location. So now it's essentially giving it the content that you want to give it. We always put a header in there just for visuals. It's recommended to create your own header and give it a aesthetic appeal. It's not essential, that's totally up to each person's discretion. In here we're going to say introduction to a theme park scenario. And as you can see, all of these tools over here are very similar to Word. So if you want to put your text in here, you can center a line, left a line, right a line, give them bullets, etc. So it's pretty much the same way that you would use, there we go, we can use that bold. In here, if we wanted to give a link, you would highlight whatever you wanted to give a link to, click on this, and you can go to a HTML page. So in this case, we'll say google.com, link to URL. If I choose another word, let's see, link to, and highlight that, I can actually just browse to a file and perhaps attach an image. So I'll just attach that one, link to file. And what that does is actually package it with the SBLi file. So once it gets uploaded to the server, all of those items, any documents you package into it, will actually go up and onto the server with the scenario. What else have we got here? We can insert pictures. So I'm going to take away that bullet point, and I'm going to insert from the media library. I'm going to look for an image, let's say a horse. Yes, we do have a horse. See that? And you just say import. SBLi will resize files if they seem particularly big. Now this is quite handy because often we use very high pixel digital cameras, and we'll forget to resize them, and you don't want to bulk up something that's on the internet because it just slows it down. So I'm going to say yes, I would like you to resize it, and it brings it down so that it fits within that content page. Within here as well, get rid of that bullet again, we could actually add a table, and you can say how many rows and columns, spacings, and whether you want a border, how thick the border is going to be. I'm just going to say cancel to that one. And I will explain the rest a little bit later because they go into a little bit more detail. Okay, so we have added the location. I've gone through the properties. If you wanted to edit that, obviously all you need to do is go in here and just change it quite simply like that. You can always decide you might want to use a different icon just by simply going in and replacing it. Editing the text in here, simple matter of highlighting and putting in whatever text you'd like. So that's the basics of editing and adding a location.